I was 24 years old at that time, and I just thought, I think I need to bring this to Canada. And I started making moves towards that. And so slowly one thing came to another, and you start making actually like signing the lease documents and really getting into the weeds of actually building your business. And I'll never forget, and I think this is, just sums up the entire experience of starting a business at any age really, is I was sitting there in Summerhill, my first location, and we had set up the business, set up everything. I'd done all the hard stuff. And I was there by myself. It was like 10 p.m. at night. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, you just built something. This is unbelievable. We're about to open tomorrow. And like that, I thought, what are you doing? You're not even an esthetician. Throughout that experience, it was constantly battling. That voice inside was like, you're only 25 years old and you're not even an esthetician. Why would you be opening this business? Every client leaving must have an exceptional experience. And that's all that matters, right? That's how you build the business. It's from that word of mouth, from just phenomenal client experience. Passion is what you need on your team. And if someone doesn't have that same level of passion for the business that they're working for, is tied to the vision of that brand, it's not gonna work.
Welcome to the Challenger Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Dwight, and today we're bringing you a conversation that's all about shaking up an industry. If you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or just someone who refuses to settle for the status quo, this episode is for you. Joining us today is Lexi Miles Corrin, a beauty entrepreneur who started WAXON, Laser, and Waxbar, Canada's #1 wax bar, a business she started at just 26 years of age. What began as one location has now grown into over 26 locations across the country. From spotting market gaps to building a high-end yet accessible experience, Lexi's journey is all about innovation, resilience, and creating a new category and a brand that stands out. So let's go. All right, well, welcome to the Challenger Mindset Podcast. Today, Lexi is quite an inspiration for most of us in business because she started WAXON, Laser, and Waxbar at the age of 25, and now one of the leading chains all over Canada. And she identified a very unique market need and has built this amazing business. In fact, everyone in my office, the females, knew the brand, and I was thrilled to have her in the studio. So welcome, Lexi.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I just got named a challenger, so I think that I'm off to a good start already.
You are a true challenger, and I'd love to hear about stories where young entrepreneurs who have a lot of things going against them, who kind of push past and build an amazing business. And I have a feeling you're just getting started. You've got a great foundation to build on, but let me take you back to how it all started. What was your inspiration to getting into the business, to identifying this unique opportunity in waxing, and how did you get there?
Yeah, so I was a management consultant prior to starting WAXON, which also gave me a tremendous foundation for work ethic, sink or swim type mentality. But I spent a lot of my time in the States. And when I was here in Canada and trying to get a wax appointment, I either had the options of pretty much behind a shower curtain for a wax, which is where I ended up in a nail salon, or an expensive spa. And so when I was in the US, I started seeing these wax bars pop up, and I thought, this is brilliant. And this was when things weren't very specialized. We had blow dry bars, but nothing else was really that specialized in terms of service offerings. And I started going to this wax bar, and I thought, this is such an amazing idea. I was 24 years old at that time, and I just thought, I think I need to bring this to Canada. And I started making moves towards that. And so slowly one thing came to another, and you start making actually signing the lease documents and really getting into the weeds of actually building your business. And I'll never forget, and I think this is, just sums up the entire experience of starting a business at any age, really, is I was just telling Taylor on the way here, a member of my team, and I was sitting there in Summerhill, my first location, and we had set up the business, like set up everything. I'd done all the hard stuff, right? Like all the hard stuff. It was ready to go. And I was there by myself. It was like 10 p.m. at night. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, just taking it in, right? Like, you just built something. Like, this is unbelievable. We're about to open tomorrow. And I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of myself. And like that, I thought, what are you doing? You're not even an esthetician. Like, who are you to open this business? Like, you have no business in opening this business. What are people going to think of you? What are your friends going to think of you? Like, this is a terrible idea. How do we get out of this? And I'm literally opening the doors the next day. And I think this is important because these judgments come into our minds when we're about to take and make big moves, right? And we're about to kind of move into something that's challenging. And it's just trying to like silence that inner critic a little bit and be able to move past that helps us to actually achieve what we're looking to achieve. And for me, at that point I didn't have any option, but throughout that experience, it was constantly battling. That voice inside was like, you're only 25 years old and you're not even an esthetician. Like, why would you be opening this business?
That's so inspiring. At 25 years old, most of us are just finding our voice, our confidence, and for you to actually step past that is quite commendable. Was there anyone in your early years that was a particular influence that gave you kind of that inner strength?
Yeah, both my parents, my dad was an entrepreneur his whole life. So he's started and sold multiple businesses. I always wanted to be a boss. Like, that was just kind of what I was the little kid that started the snack shack right at our cottage, like those types of things. I wanted to leave university and work. Like, I didn't want to graduate at times and I ended up graduating, but I just wanted to get started. So I think that lends itself to why I started so young. And then my mom also, she was a stay-at-home mom my whole life until I was 16 years old and then started her own business. So just being surrounded by that energy, I think really kind of gave me a foundation for wanting it for myself.
Sounds like you had great foundational influences. So at 25, you opened your first location. Yeah. And excitement, nerves. And nerves.
It was naive, right? Let's be real, like a little naive, I think.
Yeah. And most entrepreneurs, when, they go through that phase with, then things start going wrong and then you have to fix things. So what were some of the early, experiences in that first 30, 60, 90 days were unexpected and then you still had to deal with it and then keep moving forward? Yeah.
The most important thing, I think, and you will know this better than most, is iteration is the utmost importance, right? Like, the team we started with on day one, all but two were not the team that continued with us throughout. And it was just understanding who we were and really building the culture that we wanted and making sure that we had the people in that culture that were going to help to make it thrive. I believe that your culture begins and ends with the first two people you hire, and they're the ones that are going to bring it throughout the business as it goes forward. And I'm really proud that I have my first two hires still with me today. And a waxologist that's been with me for 13 years, 10 years, 8 years. Like, we have a team that's really stayed with the WAXON family. And in aesthetics, that's so rare. It's known as a high turnover, catty industry that when I started, I was just very adamant was not going to be WAXON. And we've built something that's so different within the aesthetic industry as such. So I think it's that. It's like just constant willingness to iterate and understand that you do not need to get it perfect right away. You won't. There's no way. And coming from an operations background in consulting, I was able to kind of use that lens of narrowing in on like client experience. That was it. Like, our commitment, and we tell every franchise partner who opens with us or comes on board with us, your commitment is just every client leaving must have an exceptional experience. And that's all that matters, right? Like that's how you build the business. It's from that word of mouth, from just phenomenal client experience.
Virtually every CEO that's sat in that chair that I've interviewed has stated that client experience has been their, MO from day one. Building a high performance team, very, very important. Sounds like you found a core team that you were able to now build off of. There's a lot of turnover early days in companies. We've seen that, most companies that go through those early years are trying to find the right people fit. How do you navigate through that? How do you decide, this is the kind of culture and this is the kind of DNA of the people that fit in this business? I
think this is like my secret sauce. Like, I think it's what I'm best at is just having a feel for our team and who's going to be the right fit, and really leaning in with my gut on a lot of those decisions. What I've always found surprising in a service-based industry is our people are our service. So the people that work at WAXON, they're the ones in a closed room with the client delivering the service. And to make sure that you're creating an environment for them to thrive, for them to feel respected, for them to feel compensated well, then they're in the room. And the first question a client asks our team members is, how do you like working here? Right? Like, what's it like? But really, what's it like? And the greatest compliment is that they love it and that they are thriving because they get to build a business within our business. And we've taken that from that first location, Summerhill, and that was the culture we wanted to create, was this amazing, empowering culture for women in an industry that didn't exist when we got into it, and then bring that to how we built our HQ team. And so passion is what you need on your team. And if someone doesn't have that same level of passion for the business that they're working for, is tied to the vision of that brand, it's not going to work, right? Like there's not going to, especially in a smaller business that's scaling, because it's hard. You're working long hours. Like you need to be like bleeding wax on, right? We say like bleeding yellow, like you got to be in it. And so catching that like bug and really wanting to just be part of the journey is what I look for in the individuals that build our team. Yeah, I always say, you hire for passion. Yes. You can always teach 100%. The technical stuff. 100%. So you go from one location to, numerous, both corporate and franchise. In fact, we had the president of Starbucks International here, former president, and he talked about how, they scaled from 28 Starbucks to worldwide thousands of stores, and he was very obsessed with making sure you didn't lose the culture as you grew. 100%. So how did you keep that customer friendly, customer focused, highly passionate culture as you've gone past 25 locations now, right? It was the constant battle in my mind of growing corporately and growing through franchise. So I own 6 corporate locations myself. So that means I own them and run them with my team. And then we have the rest of our locations that are franchise and are now solely a franchise business. And so I literally every day, if you asked me a couple of years ago, I would go back and forth. I was like, I think I need to grow corporately. No, I need to grow through franchise. And it was because of that fear of I cannot lose the quality. Our business is quality, right? Like that's all it comes down to. It's such an intimate service that we offer. And who is going to make sure that is like sacred and that brand continues to be the value that we've established today. And then I found something which was so amazing and empowering. It's that I have a fully female franchise system today. All of our franchise partners are women. And I realized that actually through franchising, it was this opportunity to build female entrepreneurs and allow an opportunity for women to come in, own their own business, but have an amazing support system, have the tools, have the training, have all of these pieces that when I started would have been lovely to have, and have an amazing support system around them. and don't need to have the experience, right? Like we have women who are stay-at-home moms that are just now wanting to do something for themselves, and they're franchise partners of ours. And we have people from corporate jobs, we have lawyers, we have people in marketing. And I think that for me, that then allowed me to see that actually these women love our brand. Like they are going to protect our brand. If you choose the right franchise partner, and that's the most important decision, right? Like selecting that partner that's going to be a steward of your brand. It's much like building a team. It's the passion that I look for. It's like, have you been to a WAXON? It's like one of the first things I ask. If they haven't been, it's like, well, you got to go, because you need to love this business and want to hold the standards that I hold for it equally. And that's how we've so far been able to really, like, I think the quality is only increasing in bringing on these amazing franchise partners and female franchise partners who believe in the same vision as I do.
It's a special industry. We were talking earlier, Boomerang actually works with hundreds of thousands of practices in aesthetics with software and digital marketing. And it's one of the few industries which is actually dominated by female entrepreneurs, which is incredible, much needed. So it's great that you are helping to promote really small businesses that are owned and led by females. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges for female entrepreneurs in 2025?
I think it's a great question. I think the greatest challenges are often like ourselves getting in our own way, to be frank and real. We as women have, and granted, like with full approval, every excuse in the book to not be moving on the thing that we want to be achieving. Because we often are the leaders in our family and we have a lot on our plate and we are tapped and we're tired and all of these things that come together. And, you know, I'm a mom of 4. And so I'm very much aware of the weight that we hold as women. And so I think that if we can lean more into, and we talked about it, like building your village and allowing women to see and understand what it means to receive help, then we can allow ourselves more space to be able to be making moves and going for the promotions and doing the thing that right now we have an excuse around that is the reason why we can't do it, legitimate excuse, like our kids and wanting to be there and all of these moments. But there's this yearning, there's this like nudge and pulling in you, the desire that you want to do and be more. And I think being able to be an example of, I have 2 nannies. Like I'm not doing this alone. And I understand I'm in a very privileged situation to be able to have that. And I've built that privilege for myself, but also it's, you know, how can we receive help? How can we have carpools? How can we have meal trains? How can we do things and allow ourselves to receive support instead of feeling like we need to stand on our own? Because if we're standing on our own, like there's no way, like that weight is too heavy. We need to get out of our own ways in order for us to be able to move on our dreams and action those.
Yeah, it's a constant, you know, challenge. It's a balancing act. I've seen it with my own wife, you know, raising kids and still managing a career. And you have 4 kids. It's incredible. And they're still very young and you're still building this fabulous business. What are you teaching them? What are you instilling in them to be more like you in the future?
I mean, I don't want them to be like me. I want them to just be like them and be the most confident versions of themselves. I think it's, you know, children are amazing because I saw my daughter Piper, you know, a number of months ago, and she was looking at herself in the mirror and she's like, I look good. Like, I look so cool right now. I'm amazing. Like just saying all these amazing positive things to ourselves. And I really like learn from them in those moments, right? Like they have no judgments against themselves. They literally are like, did you see what I did? Like my son now, she's like, I'm the fastest skater. He's 2.5. He can barely skate. But it's just amazing to see. So I think for me, it's like, how can I show them, and I believe this to be true, is like as I show them how I prioritize myself when they see me working out, because that's important to me, and I'm going to be 30 minutes and then I'll play with you and you're welcome to play around me, but I'm going to prioritize myself right now. I think that's the example I want to show them. And I want to show them that I'm gonna pursue my dreams alongside supporting you and being there. I won't miss the big moments, but there's things I'm gonna miss. And that's because I'm showing them what it means to also prioritize myself, and ideally they prioritize themselves when they get older and have the confidence to just like forge their own path in that way.
Fabulous. So how important is mental toughness, especially for still a relatively young entrepreneur building a rapidly growing business? Yeah. How important is that, mental toughness? Because undoubtedly you're dealing with challenges that come at you from all different directions, as most entrepreneurs have to deal with.
Yeah.
How do you keep focused and mentally tough?
So one of our core values at WAXON, we've many, but one of them is be humble, and that I'm always learning and growing each and every day. And I think it's so important. I have a personal professional coach I work with. Every morning I'm on a 6 a.m., no videos on, but I listen to a coaching call. Every morning. I have chaos around, like chaos. 4 kids, they're 6.5, 4.5, 2.5 twins. And it's chaos around me, but I have it in my ear. And I believe like subconsciously, like I'm absorbing all of that. So I journal. I have like a very strict, with obviously the chaos morning routines that I follow that allow me to lean into myself in the morning to have a few moments so that I can tackle what is going to be a mentally challenging day. Likely. And then I think it's the perspective on understanding that this growth and these things are happening for me. They're not happening against me. And because I believe every challenge is an opportunity to grow. And that's so hard. And I've had personal challenges. Even when I had my twins, I had a very traumatic laboring experience. And in those really tough times, understanding and leaning in that this is for my growth can be so hard. But I promise you, like, you will get to a year later and you'll look back and be like, holy, like, look at how much I grew. And so I try as much as I can, even though at times you're like, what is happening? To just take in that and know that things are for your growth, and that in the most hardest times comes like just a better version of yourself that's going to be more equipped to tackle what comes next. Yeah,
even those hard times turn out to be gifts in hindsight.
And I think like prioritize, like it's so triggering to say, like, and I really do. I try and prioritize myself. Like I want as much as I can. I think it's if I crumble, the rest of it, right? Yeah. So as a leader, but also as a mom. So I think it's how can you bite size. I love the term bite sizing. So how can you just take moments, even if it's 15 minutes, even if it's, I love cold plunging, 2 minutes, and just have that minute for yourself to regulate, to know that you did something for you today. And bite sizing is like a great way to take action on those things and just have 15 minutes and not make it overwhelming when you're trying to start something new, do a new workout routine, regime, I should say. Can we just start with 15 minutes? Can we start there and then build on it?
That's a really useful tip for most of us. So we have a lot of young entrepreneurs, many females around the world that watch this channel.
Amazing.
So if you were to give them some tips, some inspiration, what would you say to them in terms of, especially those who are just thinking about getting into entrepreneurship or who are early in their career?
Yeah. Amazing. My favorite. The only difference in me sitting here right now and having built the business that I have and are continuing to build, and the listener that's there, that's either kind of thinking about this thing, ruminating on it daily, wanting to do it, but maybe not ready, is that I took action. And it's understanding, I'm a big believer in following your gut. I think women specifically have such an incredible intuition. And if we can lean more into that intuition and make moves off of that, you really can start to achieve what you desire. And so taking action, I think it's very intimidating how we say like, it's like the big leap, right? Like in entrepreneurship, it's like you're, jumping off the edge of a cliff, and every way we speak about it is so intimidating. But if you can just take small steps, you achieve big gains. And that comes back to like this, even the bite sizing for me. It's like, what if I'm about to launch a podcast as well? So I was on a podcast, but I'm going to actually do one more on leadership and leveling up. And in that, I'm following my own kind of method of I'm just spending 15 minutes a day in the mornings just on my podcast. And the amount you can get done in that amount of time is amazing. So can we start small and then start to build up? And those things are going to compound. And before you know it, you're going to be making an actual, like I said, signing a lease or putting a deposit on something, incorporating your business. You'll start kind of tricking yourself into the progress that it takes to really start and do the thing that you're doing. But it takes commitment daily. Consistency, I think, is the most important thing that we can do, is being consistent. And it takes moving on those nudges that you're getting, even if it doesn't make sense. Like, I got to email Jerome, just grab a coffee. Why? I don't even really know, but like, I know I need to meet with him. Like, I'm going to email him and let's grab a coffee and chat and see where that takes you. Yeah,
that intuition, generally leaning into that is something that we all need to be reminded of. So that was great. So what's next for you? You've got a podcast coming out. Your business is growing. Maybe just tell us what we can expect from the business as well as from you. Yeah. So, I mean, always WAXON world domination is like pretty much how I always answer this question. Yeah. We're growing. It's our biggest growth year yet. We'll have 8, potentially 10 locations opening this year and set to have a pace of opening 10 to 12 a year following. So our goals by next year, we will be the leading industry leader in hair removal in the country. And so proud and excited about that. And then personally launching a podcast. I'm investing in some female founded businesses, which I'm really passionate about, and leaning a lot into like mentorship and just helping to take all of the experiences and growth that I've had and lend that to other women in, similar position and looking to grow their business or just taking the next step in what they want and desire. Lexi, it's been an honor to have you. We are thrilled to have heard about your story, and we're looking forward to having you back to share more about your success. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.